Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
By now, we all know about the Google Map community. Minor-attracted adults have become far more brazen in recent years due to their online declaration that their attraction is merely a sexuality akin to the LGBTQ community. Although vehemently opposed by the LGBT community, the Map community have been finding newer ways to connect with the AAM community, and that stands for Adult Attracted Minors. And in order to do this, they have created a secret society on Twitter where only those in the know will know about it, using hashtags and emojis to hide their intentions in the algorithm. The Google Map community are a largely present danger to many minors online today. Many victims of CM and their parents had absolutely no idea that they were even targets. The uncertainty of not knowing who may be victimized leads a lot of parents to the question of who do P-words choose to attack and why, as well as how do they even gain the opportunity? Well, now there is a completely new way that these P-words can get in contact with your children or your family members or loved ones who are minors, and that's through grooming on the internet.
But Paige, every responsible parent knows about internet child grooming.
But what if you weren't even sure what you were looking for? Conversations that are coded in lingo that's hard to decipher. MNSFW stands for minor not suitable for work. And children are selling their intimate photographs to P-words and creating menus for P-words to purchase CP online. This has become lucrative business for some of these minors, and some of them as young as 11 are in daily contact with buyers, selling content in a strange role reversal of abuse. Today we are taking a look at MNSFW as we ask companies such as Twitter, what is the price of a child's innocence? Today's video is proudly sponsored by Wren. Now, we all know about climate change and how it negatively impacts the world it is that we're living in. I know that all of us try our best to do our little part to try and lower our CO2 emissions into this universe, even if it's opting to take a walk rather than taking the car, choosing to use eco-friendly reusable bags when you go to the supermarket for your weekly shop, or even something as simple as teaching your kids how to recycle to make a huge difference on the world it is that they're going to be living in. That's why I was so excited when Wren reached out to me so that I could show you guys how we can all lower our carbon footprint. So what is Wren? Wren is a website where you can calculate your carbon footprint and then offset it by funding various different carbon reduction projects such as planting trees, mineral weathering, or rainforest protection. By answering a few simple questions, you guys can figure out what your carbon footprint is and then learn how to reduce it. But nobody can reduce their carbon footprint to zero, so you can offset whatever you have left after you reduce. Once you sign up and decide to make a monthly contribution to offset your carbon footprint, you will receive monthly updates on the projects it is that you choose to support. You get to see what your money is spent on. You get to see photos and videos of the trees you planted, the acres of rainforests that you've saved. It truly is just a feel-good way of seeing every ton of your carbon footprint offset. Me personally, I enjoy seeing the clean cooking fuels for refugees in Uganda, and they plan to provide clean cooking fuel for up to 1 million refugees. I particularly love this project because when we think about lowering our CO2 emissions or our carbon footprint, we think about people like ourselves who may be in positions to actually make an effective change. But with this project, we are able to help refugees who aren't in our positions, to help them lower their CO2 emissions and in turn help the world. It truly does take all of us taking an active approach to end the climate crisis, but we can't do it alone. And you can start today by offsetting your carbon footprint with Wren. The first 100 people to sign up to Wren using my link in the description box down below will have 10 extra trees planted in their name. It truly is amazing when a company reaches out that really has an amazing message. So thank you so much to Wren.co for sponsoring today's video. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The Google Map problem has always been a huge problem on Twitter. It seems as if Twitter creates this safe haven for these maps to be able to exist and converse. Videos about the map problem online has been discussed ad nauseum for at least 3 years. Because 3 years ago, P-words were rebranding themselves as maps or no maps, which is no contact minor attracted person. 2 years ago, I even remember watching a video from Ready to Glare speaking about the fact that maps had begun to develop underage allies. And these people were either minors who were attracted to adults or minors who were attracted to other minors, therefore empathizing with maps.
The community now has a subsection where there's people who don't identify as maps who just openly support them, who are minors, and then people who are minors who also identify as maps and therefore support / maps, whatever you want to call them. So it genuinely scares me because, like I said, I don't necessarily believe that every minor who says that they're a map truly knows what they're talking about. And second of all, if they do think that and they continue to think that, I feel like I worry that they will continue to reiterate to themselves that they are that and that they therefore can never change or shouldn't go to therapy and things like that. You know what I mean?
This presented such a bigger problem than there just being maps online. This meant in turn that minors were presenting themselves in support of maps. And minors who exhibited this kind of mentality could find themselves a little bit more susceptible to things such as grooming, or even at its worst, being in direct contact with maps. Well, in recent months, it seems as if this has developed into something far more dark and more sinister. 2 days ago, at the time of filming this, a content creator called Drama Queen created a video called MNSFW, It's Not Okay, where she discussed the newer, bustling community of minors selling intimate photographs of themselves to maps.
Hey Hank Garrett, you weirdo. Why the are you on this girl's tweets saying, hit me up?
This in turn created a very lucrative business model because instead of resorting to the dark or the deep web to find intimate, compromising photos and videos of minors, the minors were contacting them directly, or at least creating spaces for this. It turned into some kind of guilt-free OnlyFans situation. No need to groom if they were grooming themselves. Or were they? Yesterday evening, a person called Socks, that's not their real name, posted a Twitter thread about their experience within the map/AAM community. This is what she had to say. This is a post I never thought that I would make or even come to talk about. As I stand here today drafting this, I can't help but feel overwhelmed. We as a society never offered an open and safe space where you could address vulnerable topics such as these, especially without feeling ashamed of yourself and having been in such acts. Which is why I am now coming forth with my story in hopes of saving others in my position, or those who may fall victim to those same tactics. Before I get into the main topic, which would be the child exploitation on Twitter, I first want to come forth about my own story. As a child, I was granted internet access on any device to use it. I wasn't looked after in that sense and was given the potential to talk to older people, which is unfortunately what happened on a kids app, which I will not name for the potential of legal issues. I was groomed by a supposed 16-year-old at the age of 12. He would control actions of mine at the same time, and he would make me fall along into his idealization of However, I still fell in love with him. With that mistake, I fell victim to grooming, which has still effects on my current relationships with people. After I was able to escape the situation, I was under the impression that I would never fall victim again. That was until I was dumped by my first boyfriend. With this, I was understandably heartbroken, as I was going through a lot at the time and didn't know how to release my emotions or talk about it. This led a friend of mine to recommend me joining a side of Twitter called Minor Not Suitable for Work. If you are new to this topic, it is essentially a place where minors market themselves to produce content, having the usual target audience be older people. I joined that part of Twitter in early September of 2021, and I would see myself wandering to that site for a bit, posting here and there. That was up until my father passed away in December. I was swallowed up by so much grief at the time. I didn't have much friends that would be able to comfort me. Thus I went back to the site and was accompanied by an older man by the name of Tony. Tony would exploit my despair at the time and gain content from me, which would lead me to becoming an active user on that site. Up until June, I was very active, having a decent amount of following on any account that I made. I would be producing and selling content as he groomed me and instructed me to do, and I would be constantly interacting with older people, specifically those who were aware of my young age. It didn't take me until very recently to recognize how I was being taken advantage of, in which I broke down. Afterwards, I made a decision to contact a couple of people to talk about the people, and more often than not, got little to no response. This led me to the conclusive decision to make my own post about the topic. From this point on in the thread, I'll be talking about the use of hashtags to market off minors, accounts that contribute to the act, and how I was able to seek help. Hashtags in question: MNSFW, MNSFWTWT, Sweet Tooth TWT, Carto TWT, Pedobait, and Map TWT. Most of these tags are used by members of the AAM, Adult Attracted Minor community, and in use are marketing themselves off to pedo communities. From my experience, most of the accounts sell, which includes selling not suitable for work photos of themselves, videos, and doing meetups. Meetups are when minors plan to do acts with adults for profit. For the accounts, I won't be redistributing accounts of minors, as that'll lead others to consume their content, but rather the adults that interact with them. How I was able to seek help: I was able to come to the realization that I was being groomed when I talked to a friend of mine about my mental health, and the majority of the straining emotions came from the overwhelming feeling of that side of Twitter, which led me to the realization of how toxic and invalidating it was to be there, not mentioning the overall effect the community would have to previous experiences of mine with grooming. Socks is 17 years old and contacted various different other content creators besides myself to make this story go further. To be honest, because Socks is a minor, I was very apprehensive about speaking to them privately. As a person who's been in a very similar situation as a minor, I know all too well how easy it is for those who are trying to help to exploit you even further. And my aim in all of this is not to re-traumatize Socks any further. So what I will say is my comment section is going to be heavily moderated. Anything that doesn't contribute positively to good and fair and honest discourse as to what it is that we can do as a community to help stop these situations from reoccurring is just going to be deleted. I'm letting you guys know from the jump that this conversation in the comment section will be heavily moderated. However, after consulting my team, as well as some journalists, as well as UNICEF, along with an adult advocate that the minor trusts, who has presented us with their legal identification, I was able to give Socks the right to privacy and confidentiality, but also to have their opinions heard and to participate in discussions that are directly involving them. I want to assure the viewers that I am here to protect Socks' best interests above anything else, above all other consideration, even your feelings. So again, keep it cute correct and keep it clean in the comment section. But here is my conversation with Socks, an ex-member of the MAP/AAM community. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, what your name is, etc., or your pseudonym?
Well, I go by Socks by most people, so that's my name, I guess. And I'm 17, I live in the U.S. That's really interesting about me. That stands out, so I guess that's really it.
And in your thread, you speak about a man who you've named as Tony. Can you speak a little bit more in detail on how it is that you got to know Tony?
Well, I got to know him around, I believe in November, September at first. And then he asked me, oh, do I sell? And I didn't at the time, so I blocked him out of discomfort. Yeah. And then in December, my dad passed away. And he would DM me on another account talking to me, and I was desperate for attention, so I kind of accepted that reciprocation.
Right, so were you kind of somewhat involved in the AAM/MAP community already?
Not really. I was scrolling through that community for sure, but I wasn't like a part of it, I guess.
So you kind of just were scoping around, seeing what was going on, and that's how you ended up getting approached by somebody within that community already?
Yes.
Okay, so how did you actually get involved with the MAP community?
A friend, I'm not going to name them since it's like an ex-friend, I don't want them, getting mad at me again. But I'll call them A. He told me about it when I first got dumped by this person. And I was kind of heartbroken since it was, first dumping. And I was like, not really a good experience for me. So then he started talking me into it, and I joined kind of unwillingly, and then it just became a spiral into the community. And
did you end up selling within the community in the end?
Yes, Tony groomed me into doing so. He would convince me to do so to earn money and all that.
Okay, and this Tony person, this is just somebody that you've met online, isn't it? It's not somebody that, is in your real life.
Yes, he's not in my real life.
So how much money can you expect to make doing the selling online?
That really varies per person. This person named Lynn, for example, she can make with $1,000 per week since she's very popular. But someone like me, I could probably make with a couple hundred a month if I tried.
So you've got some people who can earn like a couple thousand, then a couple of people who could earn a couple hundred. One thing it is that I've noticed, and I'm going a little bit off script here, one thing it is that I've noticed is that some minors are requesting things such as gift cards and stuff like that. Is that standard procedure?
It really varies. Some people can take Cash App, PayPal. I took gift cards primarily.
And what's the allure with using the gift cards rather than actual currency?
Because it's way easier to transport without pricing.
Right, okay. That makes sense. Has anyone ever found their content in other places?
Oh, for sure. There's been multiple cases where content will be transacted to Telegram communities. It definitely is linked to other people in that community, and there's been cases where I've seen friends of mine get their content leaked.
So in terms of like things like doxing and stuff like that, is that quite common as well?
I guess it's not really a friend, but a person in that community that I know pretty well. They got doxed the other day by a ex of theirs. I'm not aware of their age, but it is pretty common to be doxed for that.
And the people who tend to do the doxing, is that like people online or, family or friends or people close to them?
Definitely online. It's people that think they know better than them.
Right, so does it tend to be the maps themselves, or is it just, competitors? I'm just trying to gauge like what the culture's like.
Well, ironically, it's the minors that do the doxing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like doxing phone numbers, doxing addresses.
Are the minors aware that their content could be continuously distributed on the dark web and places like that? Like, do some of them genuinely have that comprehension?
I think the majority of them do, just we can't do anything to prevent it, and a lot of them have been addicted to this. So it's not like they can really stop. It took me a while to really fully get a grasp of myself doing this.
So when you say addicted to this, do you feel like, the way in which they're getting attention is addictive?
I feel that and money.
Yeah, so there's obviously you get the financial gratification of it all, but do you think there's like a little bit of self-esteem entangled into all of this, you know, wanted to be desired, wanted to be liked, etc., etc.?
For some of them, yes. That wasn't the case for me since I hated the attention. I just liked the money.
Many girls have identifiable information, most likely due to their adolescence and not really knowing or understanding how much information of their own can be put onto the internet and redistributed. Do they understand, do you think that a lot of these minors understand like the ramifications of stuff like that? Because I see people posting like email addresses and, you know, their personal private names and things like that. And it's kind of scary if I think about the concept of like a 15-year-old or a 13-year-old posting these personal details online. Do they have any idea, do you think?
I feel like some of them do and don't care, and then the others don't understand how long that is going to haunt you for. Like there's people that have like posted face reveals on that app. And like stuff in the school uniform without any care.
Oh wow. So there's like literal minors showing what schools it is that they attend.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's scary. Has anyone ever been like harassed or stalked?
Oh, for sure. Maybe not in person, but online for sure.
Right, okay. And did you have any physical encounters with any of the maps it is that you and like were in contact with? Like did you ever meet?
Oh, thankfully not. I never was able to do that due to transportation issues, which I'm very grateful for.
Okay. Would you have considered meeting when your head was in that mindset?
I did consider meeting with Tony once, and I realized that it would have been not the best for me.
And how young is the youngest person that you are aware of within the community?
I would say probably 11.
So, from what I've been able to see online, there seems to be like this other subsection of adults who are within the community who support MAP, who support no maps, and also support people who are minors who are attracted to adults. So with these people, what I've started noticing within the selling community is the people who are 20, 21, etc., etc., they are posting their menus, and in their menus are photographs from when they were extremely young, like 12 to 13 or 12 to 14 years old. What do you think about the adults entering the community and being a part of it?
Also, an interesting question. I do know like older people that post content of when they were younger for more interactions, more money.
Yeah.
But I never really been aware of actual adults because a lot of them lie about their age. Like even if they see like someone that says minors do not interact, and they would be like following a lot of minors. Like it really depends.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, that kind of changes the questions for me a little bit. Okay, so in terms of the adults, okay, because I thought that what I was seeing, because there's this one young lady who says that she's like 21 years old and she sells photographs of herself now, but she also sells photographs, like a set of photographs from when she was younger. And that collection is considerably higher than the collection it is that she has at the moment. And when I was looking through their menu, I just thought to myself, oh, maybe they're like the gateway drug, you know, to these activities, because all I thought was like if I was putting myself in a position of being a map, right, and I wanted to get pictures of minors, it would make sense for me to approach an adult selling pictures of themselves as a minor than me going directly to a minor.
I get that. I wouldn't have to do that beforehand, so it's so easy to access this content even without paying.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people post free content of themselves.
You are absolutely out of your mind, seriously. So there's minors just posting it for free.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's been pictures, videos, and then, you know, obviously leaked content.
And, oh, wow. Wow, okay. Like, in my head, I'm like, it's not even like, you can't even regulate it behind a paywall. It's just, if it's just out there, goodness gracious me. That took me aback a little bit, actually. Okay, When was the point that you realised that something wasn't right and that you needed to get out?
I think it's mostly reflecting on me and Tony's relationship at the time. I was thinking about how he would talk about my dad in very interesting ways. He's like, oh, I'm sure your dad would have loved to meet me. No, he wouldn't have. He would have killed you. And I was talking to actually about it and like, about some of my experiences, and that's when I realized that me holding back from this information is what's really keeping me up at night. So then I had to like really let go to him about the situation, and then that's when I really fully grasped what I was going through.
Right. And you feel as if you were groomed by Tony, like Tony had groomed you to be a part of this world?
Unfortunately, yes.
And do you think it was for his gratification?
Oh, for sure.
And do you think that there's a lot of girls who are in similar positions to you with adults who kind of get them involved in the community to begin with? Or do you think that young people are finding it organically themselves?
I feel like it's a mixture of both. I wouldn't even say young girls, because I could see boys, non-binary people, a whole group of people join that community to gain gratification, money, whatever they want.
Okay, so what made you want to come forward with your story?
Talking to honestly, and like fully coming forward with what I've been wanting to say for so long, and like not being judged by it made me realize how helpful my story coming out could help others. So that's why I came forward, wanting to help and inspire others that are going through the similar situation I went through.
I hear that. I think what you're doing is really commendable, actually, especially at such a young age. Just coming forward and telling the world about what it is that you've experienced, and not just that, just doing so alone, because as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's been any other young people who've come out to speak their side of the story either. So standing alone in this is amazing, and obviously we'll do everything it is that we can to protect you as well. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick, so I apologise if I sound like really nasally. Have you alerted the police, and if not, why?
There's been too many stories of police victim shaming people that made me scared of authoritarians, especially as people in my school don't have the best experience with the police. So it's like very kind of an iffy subject. I want to talk to my therapist about it, and I want to talk to a trusted adult about this. So that's really all I can do.
Okay, that's good, because obviously I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, why didn't she go to the police? You know how like people instantaneously want to click on and, you know, victim shame for why they didn't come this, why they didn't do this. But I think it's about choosing what's best for you. And if what's best for you is not going directly to police and going to people it is that you trust first, then you trust your gut on that. And obviously you've got good people in your corner in here, and they seem to be, you know, caring for you and making sure that they've got your best interests. So yeah, so do what's best for you. Don't ever feel pressured to do anything outside of your comfort zone. Are you taking steps to recover from this traumatic experience? So obviously you said you've got yourself a therapist. Is this a therapist that you've had ongoing, or is it like since these events?
Probably since like around my dad passed away, so I guess January. Actually, no. I had a different therapist. I think April. I really have no clue, to be honest.
Okay, and are you finding having a therapist helps you?
Yeah. I only talked about being groomed once, and that's when I was 12. And that was recently, so that really helped me get that off my chest. And after that, I was able to come forward with my story.
That's all that I want for you, is just to make sure that you're supported under all circumstances. Hence why I wanted to make sure that I handled this as delicately as possible. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for, you know, speaking your story and telling people about the atrocities and what is actually taking place. Is there anything that you feel is important for adults to know, as in be it like, you know, a parent to their child or an adult with young family members? If there's anything that you believe that they can do to try and protect their minors from things like this, what is it that you would tell them to do?
Definitely not shame their child. I think I've been shamed too many times for stuff that I experienced, and that really has helped me not to come forward with stories like these. So I think being open and honest with your child, being like talking to them about situations like these, helping comfort them through no matter what they're going through. I think just being like a good parent to them, I guess. And that sounds so simple, but it's really not.
I think it's about when these situations do happen, and they can happen even in the most stable households, these sort of things can happen. I think that when they do happen, I think that what's needed is that whoever the young person is embraced with no judgment whatsoever. And I think it's so great that you echo those exact same sentiments as well. Socks, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being a supportive friend, and thank you guys for imparting as much of your knowledge on this community it is that you have, so that I can obviously create this video. So I really appreciate you guys being here.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Now, as you can tell, this is a seriously disturbing story with real life ramifications for young people. After speaking with Socks for the past 2 days, she was able to clue me in on some of the lingo and the culture of the community, which I am going to now share with you guys so that you guys can stay vigilant. Here are a few of the tags used by minors and the maps. So we have MNSFW, which is minors not suitable for work. Then we have MNSFWTWT, which is minors not suitable for work Twitter. Then we have Sweet Tooth Twitter, which essentially is the comparison of children liking candies, so you see where that's going. And then we have Carto Twitter, which I didn't quite understand where that had come from, but apparently according to Socks, this is short for cartographer. And according to Google, cartographers collect information about geography of an area to design and produce maps, charts, and plans. So basically this is another hidden term for maps. Again, it's so important that we understand like the lingo and the culture surrounding this, because how would you know? How would you protect your minors or your loved ones who are minors from this if you don't know what you're looking for? Then we have pedobait and map Twitter, which I guess is self-explanatory. But then there are also some emojis that are used. So this emoji over here is used by the AAM community to show who they are, and it's a juice carton. I guess because only small kids drink juice cartons. And then as an identifier for maps, we have the map emoji, as well as the file emoji, which is P-word file. You can figure that out yourself. There's also a culture of stating whether or not they sell. So if you see somebody saying I'm selling, then that gives you an idea that they may have a menu for you to order from. Also, one thing it is that I've noticed as well is that people will use the location, which is something on Twitter that you can change to literally anything. I think my location says that I'm moisturizing. The minors are using that location area in order to put what their real age is. So minors who are like 14 years old will put like 10+4 in the locations section. And menus is exactly what it looks like. You can order something from the minors directly. Obviously, because some of these minors are minors, some of them may not even have bank accounts. So a lot of these minors do requests for transactions to be done, not necessarily in cash, but in gift cards. Gift cards to Amazon, gift cards to Sephora. In some occasions, I've even seen people ask for Xbox Live gift cards. So why are these map accounts, these AAM accounts, this community allowed to thrive on Twitter and not other places such as TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc.? It's because of one simple fact. Twitter isn't necessarily that active with IP bans. If your account gets permanently banned or permanently suspended, you can usually make another account on the same IP with little to no consequences. So maps and AAMs who get sniped, as they call it, just create a new account. This seems to be a regular occurrence for this community, as many people will link the name of their previous account so people know who the new account is. So whilst Twitter does have a ban ban evasion policy, it seems very rare that they actually implement it, meaning that it simply just isn't an effective policy. But I can't help but feel that this is a part of a much bigger problem when it comes to the sexualization of minors through the internet. It's no secret that Gen Z are the TikTok generation. My feelings are that the hypersexualization of minors on TikTok could be due to what the algorithm suggests.
And this trend became even darker when a Wall Street Journal investigation on TikTok found that when you said you were 13 years old and searched for OnlyFans on the app, the algorithm would bombard you with videos about adult entertainment and It's becoming very clear that TikTok is destroying Generation Z, and there's almost no way these young children can even defend themselves when they're up against some of the most advanced AI technology and sophisticated algorithms the world has ever seen.
This isn't me saying that
TikTok is the reason why minors are involved with AAM and MAP communities.
I don't think that at all, but I do believe the accessibility of kink culture is also why so many minors are exploring the world of kinks prematurely, and probably finding themselves on the wrong side of kinks, and in their adolescence, unable to show discernment over things such as map pride. As to them, it doesn't seem so weird or damaging. Many of these minors are stating that they have hard kinks, trauma kinks, many of them sharing intimate kink videos and asking their map audience if they'd do that to them. For maps, gaining access to a child is the first step in fulfilling their urges with a minor. The next step is trying to go through with their deviant plans. Many people think it's somehow difficult for an offender to get a child, but it can actually be very easy. One of the processes it is that these people may use is the 4 Fs. That stands for friendship, fantasy, fear, and force. After finding a minor, the first step for the P word is friendship. They'll do this by giving them time, care, attention, buying things for the minor. Once the offender gains that trust, they will then begin to influence the way that the child sees. The most successful way of doing that is to make the child or the minor believe that between an adult and a minor is okay. You gotta remember that some of the biggest supporters of #MapPride were minors. The next step is fantasy. Now that's not necessarily what you think it is. This part is where the map will actually give the illusion of fantasy, if you will, that they actually care about them. They'll listen to your problems, they'll guide you through them. That's the fantasy. The fantasy of a relationship that the map dangles in front of the minor like a carrot. The offender will then use their fantasy in order to instill fear into the minor, maybe by telling them that some of their deepest, darkest secrets were going to be told, maybe even shaming the minor for the way it is that they've conducted themselves and instilling fear into them by, you know, saying that they're going to tell their parents or their loved ones or people who they respect. And once they've broken them down and have been able to gain full control, that's when they'll use the final one, which is force, because the minor is then in a full sense of coercive control. According to SOCS, many of these girls have been doxxed and threatened. These are horrible things to have to experience as an adult, let alone how terrifying and scary and humiliating it must be as a minor. And some of these kids were as young as 11 years old. But the reasoning for me making this video is to basically bring a call to action to Twitter. I want you guys to use the hashtag BanMNSFW. And at Twitter, let them know that this is not okay. There is an active file ring taking place on Twitter. Another reason I'm making this video is to weaponize us. Weaponize us with knowledge so that we can stay vigilant for the young people in our lives. The best way to prevent the use of the web to gain access to young people is to inform both the parents and the children of families. Parents need to be educated first of all in the techniques that are used so that they can be aware if their child is exhibiting any strange behavior that could be attributed to an inappropriate relationship online. Once the parents are able to know what are the signs of a potential predator, then they can inform their children of what those signs are too. They need to be able to inform their child of the dangers. And we need to start having more conversations with our minors. We need to start explaining to them what constitutes as sexual contact. They need to feel comfortable to be able to come to us as adults and ask us anything, and that no matter what, they can always come to the parents and the adults in their lives. Especially seems P words often do resort to threats and blackmail. P words are a much larger danger to children in society today due to their techniques of becoming more likable to the young person. It can be extremely hard to figure out who's going to be in a abuse situation. But once both minors and adults are educated in these methods, we can all help prevent many cases of childhood sexual abuse. Oh my god, what a story, my dude. I was working on the Mr. Girl story I've been working on. If you've been following me on social media, you know what I'm working on there. And I had to take a little bit of a backseat with that story and jump onto this one. And the reason I did that was because I feel like this story was a little bit time sensitive. In a sense, it was very important for this knowledge and this information to be out there. So I thought, right, scrap what it is that I'm doing. We're gonna go straight into this. So the Mr. Girl video is coming, just so you guys are aware. Obviously, it's just that I had to jump and do this first so that we could keep ourselves informed. Make sure that you guys are using the hashtag. Let the bosses at Twitter know that this is not okay. And hopefully, if you weren't aware of this, or if you were aware of this, I don't know. I know I wasn't. But if you weren't aware of this, hopefully you guys have been weaponized with knowledge and you guys can stay vigilant. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Socks. Not for nothing, what Socks has done is incredibly brave, and to do that and stand alone is amazing, and she should totally be commended for that. That is like, wow, to do that at such a young age as well. Wow. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been able to help me with this story. I hope you guys have an amazing day or evening, whatever the hell it is that you're doing. And until next time, I guess, goodbye. Oh, thank you, Ren, for sponsoring today's video as well. Bye.